The Tomorrow People podcast is recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation.
First Nations people have been sharing stories and wisdom for tens of thousands of years, and we hope to honour that tradition on this show.
We'd love to give a massive shout out to all the First Nations people listening.
This was and always will be Aboriginal land.
Just a heads up that this episode may include themes that some may find confronting, so please take care when listening.
Tomorrow People Podcast.
Hi, I'm Ryder.
And I'm Paige, and today our guest is Shaynna Blaze. Shaynna is an award-winning interior designer, author, creative director, business owner, executive producer, musician and TV personality. But it's her work in social justice, violence prevention and being an advocate for women why we wanted you to have you here today. Lots of accolades in there.
Oh, thank you. Yes, had to cut a few things out.
Yes. We need to hear about all of them.
So before we start, we want to know more about you doing music, because I didn't know you were a musician. Have you always been a musician?
Yeah.
The songs are like pop bangers. They're amazing.
We were definitely just listening to your latest release.
Oh,
might have been
Warrior.
from last year.
Well, but is that your most recent? Warrior?
Well,
The
there was
EP.
Warrior as the first single, then there was
Yeah.
Meet Me in the Middle as the second
Yeah.
single, then the
Amazing.
EP came out last year. Yeah, I've always done music. I was doing it in my sort of early 20s, had a band then while I was a student in design. So it was all working together in the fact of some of it was music to pay for my bills while I was studying, but then also while I was working full time, I lost that creativity. So I cut back to 3 days a week when I was working full time in design and was pursuing music and acting at the same time too. So that was part of my sort of early 20s.
Yeah.
And so, they've taken turns to shine. And it was definitely, sort of went back and forth a few different times. But I gave up music when the kids were getting that little bit older because, if anyone here is in the music industry, just doesn't pay the bills. Just doesn't pay the bills. And I was doing a lot of corporate gigs and we had the financial fall and then a lot of money went out of the corporate industry. So that was where I was making most of my money rather than in band gigs. So it was going back to what I knew, which was design. And then I was a dinosaur because I'd been out of the industry for 4 years and had to reskill up and find a whole new way. So I was starting from scratch again with that. And it was like, oh, God, I've given away my music and I'm a dinosaur in design. It's like, where do I go? So it was all about sort of choosing the path that was going to work best for the kids in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the most important question, what was your band called back in the day?
Well, I had a few. One was called, there was a few that I had Absolute Heat, playing a name on Blaze.
Absolute heat.
And that was anywhere from a 5 to a 13-piece band with
Wow.
a full horn section.
Oh, wow.
And I had I sort of took, because there was a band around the time called the Pearly Shells, a full jazz band, and they had like the little shell sort of stands in front of them like a 1930s band. So I said, I'm going to copy that. So I actually made these perspex sort of screens that were like flames and had Absolute Heat on it behind with a light behind it. And I swear the band members, they were in suits with ties and everything and they're sweating like nothing else because there was no LEDs at the time. So that was one band. Then there was, I can't remember, that swing thing. We were a swing band
Nice.
and we used to have a swing troupe that used to follow us.
Amazing.
So they're the two main ones. Then I was in another one called Funk and Believe It. And that's when the kids were in primary school and they didn't, used to have the band stickers at the back saying Funk and Believe It. And that was around the time of, real funk energy, of brand new heavies were really big, Jamiroquai.
I love Jamiroquai.
Same, so
Any
good.
musician who's tried to sing Jamiroquai,
Yeah.
it's so hard. He's so
incredible,
talented.
yeah.
So we had, we played a couple of Jamiroquai songs and it's just, so that really tested my skills. So it was really sort of all different genres and different band names and just had fun. It was fun. Yeah.
You've kind of given us a little bit about who you are, but one of the things that we like to do is obviously we've introed you. You've done a lot of incredible things professionally, but something we want to hear is who are you beyond the professional bio? So we'd love for you to give your non-bio bio?
I think, that's a really interesting thing because over my life is that anything that I love personally has become a career. Like, music became a career, design became a career, art became a career. I used to do commission artwork and also writing. Like I did a professional writing course and so I was writing for magazines and things like that. But away from those sorts of hands-on, crafty hobby things that become career, I'm just a curious animal. I think the thing is that unless it has a burning fire in my belly, I can't do anything. I almost become enabled. So anything that I look at has to like spur me on with either excitement or energy or curiosity to go down a rabbit hole of finding and knowledge and searching. And I think when I first went into design school, like I didn't even know what interior design was. And, it was just, I wanted to be a commercial artist. And so going into interior design and two of the classes were design history, which I just found my happy place.
Wow.
And because studying is a hard thing if you're not passionate about it. So studying architectural designs and the cause of architectural designs turned me into an absolute history nerd. It's once you go back into it, like, when I went to Rome for the first time, like I just got goosebumps then is, the beginning of really our culture in so many ways of, how they built things and it was destroyed in, Pompeii and then the falling of the Roman Empire. We lost all and we went into the Dark Ages and all those things and design was lost because of that time. And so we crept back to nothing and, we went to castles that had little windows with no glass in it. And, people were just freezing the whole time. But the Romans had aqueducts and viaducts and they made heaters and things like that. So it really, I just find it so exciting learning about history in the fact of where architecture and art plays a way of telling the story, but also where we learn from and grow and how people's culture is grown from where they live, whether it's an igloo or a cave or whether it's, in a big Victorian building or a castle. There's reasons why those are built. It's got to do with environment. It's got to do with religion. It's got to do with money. And so those sorts of things really inspire me to see how people live, what they do. And any project that I do, I go down a rabbit hole. I just got to see what it is. Like, when I design a room, it's like, okay, so they want this and this and this, but okay, who is that person and where does that go? And I make little symbols and people make mood boards of colours, but I make mood boards of actions and mood boards of what people want and do and dreams and hopes. Because that doesn't get you the colour blue, but it gets you who this person is that connects with what's going to be in there at the place. So I think adventure and curiosity, and I didn't discover travel until I was really in my 30s because, I had started my kids when I was 23 and, just didn't travel. Everyone was traveling in their 20s and I had babies and a career and a business. And it wasn't until my first marriage broke up I was able to go overseas to a girlfriend's wedding, which was in Idra. Have you heard of Idra in Greece?
Is it
Neither had
amazing?
I. Well, it was the first time I'd ever been overseas.
Yeah.
And it's this tiny little island off Greece and only donkeys can go on there. And all of a sudden I was traveling and going to these really remote places that were just beautiful. And I just went, oh, I get travel. So that part of my life was just opened and anywhere I go, even if it's down the Mornington Peninsula or somewhere like that, that's a travel discovery for me of just absorbing what's in there. So that's what really makes up me is just the joy of discovery.
I love that. How do you know, what's the feeling you get or how do you know when it's like the belly, the fire in the belly? Like how do you?
Is physical. It is complete physical. I get goosebumps. My stomach churns in a good way, not in a nervous way. And it's very physical. And if it's not igniting me physical, passionate wise, I will go through the motions or I'll do something, I'll get things done. I'm very focused in the fact if I've got a project, I'll do it. I need other people to finish it for me. It's the Aries in me. I can create good shit, but there's something else coming up. Can you tie that in a bow for me? That's why you employ people, because it's just like you need finishers. And Aries needs a finisher because Aries love to start, create. But those little wrapping up things, it's just like it's not the fire in my belly. So the thing is with me, anything just is exciting and gets me angry or gets me just sort of just social justice, I get so upset and annoyed and just like, why can't people see this? Why can't they do something about it? It's like, what is so hard about looking at somebody that hasn't got the same as you and it's their fault? No, it's not their fault. So anger is just as important to drive you as joy.
Yeah.
And, they say hate and love are literally the same emotion, just a different outcome. Yeah. And so anger at a situation, joy of a situation is a very similar driver. Yeah.
Love that.
We love just seeing all this passion ooze out of you and the
so
goosebumps
wonderful.
and all the physical reactions. And we're lucky we get to feel it a lot in our work when young people are sharing something they've never shared before and literal goosebumps and stuff. But we wanted to kind of let you know why we asked you to be on this show. I just noticed you're queen symbol. We see you as a bit of a queen, like a powerhouse, and just the way that you use your voice. And
so nice.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, like if we're going to talk a bit about gendered violence, you do it through like creativity, which I think is really important to make it digestible for people. And we just see you as a tomorrow person because of the way that you use your voice and ignite thought in others. So thank you so much for being on the show. And
I think that too, because, a tomorrow person is thinking forward. It's about thinking, well, where do we get to the next step? And I think that's what you guys do so well, is that we know our past defines so much of our actions now, but it doesn't have to define our future.
Yeah.
So we learn from our past, and I don't think enough people think of tomorrow.
No.
And, there's that beautiful saying, and it's a really hard one when people are in the depths and the troughs of so many things, is to think that tomorrow is a new day.
Yeah.
And, I've had a few moments of those my life. I don't know whether you've seen Gone with the Wind, that Scarlett O'Hara moment, and she's on the hill and she's got her fist in the air and she goes, I will never go hungry again. Like, I have had moments of that in my life, and I want other people to feel that too. Is like, you can be in the deepest, darkest moment, but you have the ability to get that drive and that passion of not to be in that situation. Yeah. So I feel like the word tomorrow is so inspiring and it's igniting, is that if you want to be a tomorrow man, a tomorrow woman, a tomorrow culture, you've got to learn from the past and not be dug down by it.
100%.
We'll just make that our motto for the podcast. Thanks, Shaynna. We don't need to say anything else.
So you've dropped so many little like nuggets of gold that we'd love to explore. But before we do, we've just got one more part of the warm up, which is we're going to ask you a question that you probably get asked a bit, which is a very simple question: how are you? But we're going to give you 90 seconds to answer that uninterrupted. So we're not going to jump in. We're not going to relate. We'll use our body language, which we're pretty good at.
You, but
we won't just get on our phones or file our nails. But no, we'll give you the 90 seconds and just see where it goes.
Wow.
Yeah. If you ever get stuck, just ask yourself,
amazing.
How am I?
I rarely get stuck.
Okay, you'll be fine.
You won't be able to.
But
you won't lose
but I will cut you off at the 90.
Yeah,
so just
and we'll
a
let
warning.
you know when it's up.
Yes.
But until then, we'll say nothing.
So how am I? I'm amazing. I feel incredible in the fact that I'm in a position in my career where I can sit back a little bit and I'm doing a lot of stuff that is looking out for other people at the moment, and that feels so good. My kids are in a great position personally and in their careers, so I feel like they're safe. I don't have to worry about them, and I've got so much joy in my friendships. I have so many beautiful people. Long time ago, I learnt in my early 20s to get rid of toxic people. I was very lucky. bad things happened to me that I learnt that toxic people will not be in my life. But at the same time, I feel a sense of accomplishment in that I'm allowed to be happy with who I am and what I've got because I've worked hard. I've worked really hard and on not just me, but on my friendships and my relationships and the people around me so that where I go, I feel safe. And I've not always felt safe. I've had to feign feeling safe. I've had to say I'm safe, but there's times when you don't feel safe. But I feel safe in me as a person and the people that are with me, that have got my back, and people that will be honest to me. And I think that's the main thing. I have so many people that I just say, just give it to me. So I feel very blessed. And I won't say lucky because I've worked fucking hard.
That's 90 seconds. That's 90 seconds.
I'm sorry, but I'm a swear
No,
there. I
hey.
might have to bleep that one.
Actually,
We
no,
don't
I
beep.
love that you end on that because I think particularly as women, we do a lot of that. I'm so lucky. This is so incredible. I'm so lucky.
Yeah.
But like you work fucking hard for that
Yeah.
when you look at everything that you've achieved. And even I was sitting here thinking like, you know, you said you're a mother at 23. Like that as well on top of everything you've done is so incredible. So I'm glad that you said that because I think it's important. How did that feel just giving yourself 90 seconds to answer that question?
I think I felt safe because it's just the two of you and, you know, you're two warm fuzzies and I didn't feel like I was being judged. So I actually felt like I was able to probably be more honest about how I feel rather than having an audience around you judging you thinking, oh, she's a bit up herself, you know, she thinks she's okay, she's got this, she's got that. But I think the thing is that I do always check in and, you know, I've had so many tumultuous things happen in my life and things, especially when you're in the public eye, you have to really reflect on yourself so many times when you walk out the door. So the self-reflection is either a good thing or a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
And I've always tried to put it into a positive part of that. Yeah.
How do you check in with yourself? What's your process for that?
Well, again, it's a physical thing in the fact that, you know, as much as my gut is my visceral sort of energy, my chest will tell me when I'm not feeling great and I may not always know what it is. I love to meditate. I love just that time of meditation and yoga that just sort of calms you. And it's amazing when you go into this very calm state. I don't go into any sort of trance or anything like that, but I just be still. I don't have a problem where I'm being by myself. So I think time by yourself with no music, nothing else around you really checks the noise. And so I feel like I've worked really hard to get rid of that noise. And also friendships. There's nothing better than laughter.
Nothing
You know, I've got great friends where we just share everything and, you know, I'm sure everyone's got this. You have a friend, you go for a walk, you've sold the world.
Yeah.
And you go have a cup of coffee that goes into lunch and maybe a few drinks. But I think that's the important thing is connection.
Yeah.
Is really a very important part of checking yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. And it's actually just really lovely sitting across from someone who just says, I'm really happy. Like that is a really beautiful thing, everything you shared then. So thank you for that. So I guess just to kind of take it a little bit deeper, you've obviously lived a really big life. And as Ryder described, you know, when we were talking about the people we wanted to come on this show, it's like, who do we believe are tomorrow people? And you were someone that came up for us very strongly with all the things that Ryder spoke about. But obviously you've had moments in life that have got you to where you are now, that has shaped you as the person you are, and you're still growing into something. But we would love to hear from you. What has been one of those defining moments in your life? And it can be, you know, anything. It could be a heartbreak. It could be a major highlight, but something you can kind of look back on and go, wow, that really shaped me into the person I am today and is still shaping me for tomorrow.
That's a really tricky one because there are so many defining moments. Like, you know, my auntie had this great saying is like, no one gets off scot-free. So if you go through something in your teens or your 20s and you're around people that aren't going through anything, it will happen to them. Might be in their 50s, 60s. So we all have those moments. But defining moments of what has really shaped me, it's a funny thing in the fact of I fell pregnant at 23 and I was at the beginning of my design career. I'd already been working for 3 years with a big company and also had my own business. I was wanting to dabble back into music, so I had gone back full time to like 3 or 4 days where I was then doing music and I was doing other things to get me through. And so I was in this part of my life that I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be a career person. I won't have kids till I'm 30. I had friends who just wanted to get married and have kids. That's not for me. I don't want kids till I'm later. Do I want kids? And then I fell pregnant. And the wasn't even married, but the relationship that I was in wasn't a great one. And so luckily enough in Australia, we have options of do I keep this kid or I don't keep this kid. And I remember I sat with it for 2 weeks going, like, what do I do? Do I have this kid? Do I don't have this kid? Like, it was really important for me to be an independent woman. I grew up in a blue-collar family. No one had a career. No one knew what a career was. So this was for me something that was a very defining moment. It's this or it's this. And I just remember the day I was walking down the street rubbing my belly going, oh my God, you're so wanted. Like you are my life. And the reason it's a defining moment is not because I decided to keep the baby, which ended up being my beautiful daughter, Carly. It meant that it changed me as a person of my perception of everything in the knowledge that I was now responsible for not just this human life, but I was responsible for what they see. And for me, it was a case of everything that I did, I had that specific choice of, oh my God, they're going to see everything I do. Who am I as a role model for these people? And so it really made me step up as a person and wanted me to be a role model that my kids would be proud of me. And it wasn't about anyone else in the room, my parents, aunties, uncles, cousins, friends. I just wanted to make sure that whatever I did, that my kids would say, I'm proud. And that shaped me as a person. So, all my decisions in relationships after that, career, the time I spent on things, whether I stopped my career at certain times, whether I just had to forge forward, there was so many other moments. And it doesn't make me a martyr in any shape or form. It just means that my defining moment is that I had a reason to be better. And so every day it was a case of like, I need to be a better person because of them. So that's what has made me, not a career decision, not something of a quote from my family or my upbringing. I had a beautiful, gentle upbringing. But it was knowing that I was going to have a baby that I needed to be present and needed to be there and be for them.
Thank you. There's so much in that.
There's so much in that, yeah.
My brain's just going to kind of like logical steps. So how the hell did you do that? Because usually when people make that choice, they might have to sacrifice certain things.
Yeah.
Like tangibly, how did you balance raising kids and pursuing your career?
Well, I was already in business mode when I was pregnant, and to tell you the truth, at 23, back in the 80s, there wasn't much available for working mums. And, I was in a relationship and I may as well have been a single mum, really. There was no support. I did have a girlfriend who was head of a childcare centre, so she got me into a day of childcare, was there. I still kept my business. I actually ramped up my business internally to prove myself that I could still work. I did odd jobs. I ran my business in different ways. My parents would help one day a week. My ex's parents would help one day a week. And then I had childcare. And then it was just a case, and this is where it gets a bit manic in the fact that I knew that I had to have everything done before they woke up. So I would be up, the house would be cleaned, all the washing would be done, so that when the kids woke up, it was either the times where they get to play, we get to focus on each other, or I get to pack up really quickly and go to a job. And a lot of it I was working for myself. So that was really tough. There was a lot of times where I would have appointments and I'd have to cancel because the kids were sick. The car would blow up, then I'd have to cancel that. And it was really tough.
Yeah.
It was really tough. But I think I'm really determined. And I was, as much as being defined by a mum was so important to me, I didn't want to be defined by a mum. I still wanted to feel like I was a career person. I still wanted to feel like I could achieve, and I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mum, and it's got nothing to do with anybody that chooses to do that. I never wanted that.
Yeah.
And so I needed to make sure that I had value and worth. And, some days, and it was really tough as a single mum too, like, when my marriage broke up, that, there were days where I couldn't even put food on the table. It was really hard. And times where you'd have to make decisions of getting your kids minded to pay all that money so that you could go do a job that wouldn't even cover doing that. So there's all these decisions that we all have to make. I'm not unique in any of that at all, but I think I'm a little bit stubborn. So I think that got me through, and the pushing through. But one of the biggest thing is, I don't know where it comes from, but I do have a lot of belief that if you focus, you want to try, you want to do something, and you've got that gut burning in there, that you'll push through and you can get through it. It won't happen immediately how you want it, and it may not happen in the direction that you want, but if you put all that belief and that energy and love into something, you'll get there.
I think that's a really important thing, the belief. I agree. I have the same thing, and sometimes it feels like insanity, but if you can kind of hold on to that, it can really get you through. I'm curious, like, how did you transition or reconcile, I don't know what the word is, this kind of belief that you had about, I don't even know if I want to be a mum, I want to be a career gal, like this life, and then, oh, hang on, I'm a mum now. And, so like, how did you kind of switch your beliefs around what it meant to be a mum, or what was that transition like for you when you kind of moved from this kind of version of yourself into something you maybe hadn't imagined but sounds like has been probably really beautiful and a gift, and you built your life around that? But
I don't really know. I think the thing is that, like, the belief of what a traditional mum was, I could only get from my mum, because I didn't have any friends that were having kids at the time. And so I didn't really know what that was, other than the old-fashioned version where mum gives up everything and stays home and watches soap operas, during the day. That's it. Bit of
Shout
Mike
out
Walsh.
to Bold and the Beautiful.
Bold and Beautiful, Days of Our Lives,
Days of the
all
Restless.
of that.
oh, what a time.
I know.
I was breastfed on that stuff.
So that was sort of what I knew. So I really pushed back, and so much so that, probably to my own detriment too, because, mothers groups, and you had the opportunity to go to a mother's group, and I think I went for 5 minutes and went, oh, you're not my people, go away. So I never had that support of other mothers, because I pushed them away, thinking that they were just the boring, daggy mums, and they weren't, and they could have been corporate executives that chose to have a child. But because I was 23, and most of them were in their late 20s, early 30s, that age was completely different, career was completely different, and I didn't give them a chance to tell me what they've got to offer, because you walk in, and we all know when you have kids, all the conversation's only about wee and poo, and that's the first thing that I had. And I went, I'm not talking for wee and poo, for mothers groups.
Not what I signed up for.
So I didn't go to any mothers groups. So it sort of put me into, I'm on my own when I wasn't, and I still had that business head of where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. So, I was so organised with the kids, and that came from a business perspective, not from being an organised mum. So I pushed against the norms, as I said, to my own detriment, but I got here because of it. So I don't know which is the best.
I don't think there's ever a right way, is there?
Paige.
Yes.
I'm just fascinated. Like, how do you feel hearing Shaynna speak? Because I've noticed just some parallels just with like her philosophy, and I just was thinking about you a lot.
Well, it's actually really lovely hearing you speak, because my mum was also a single mum, and even the story of, not having money to put food on the table, that was my upbringing at times. And my mum worked really, really hard to provide a different life for us. And now I am a working mum.
Go you. And go your
which
mum.
I've been reflecting on it a lot actually with Mother's Day coming up, just the term, like why do we even need to label ourselves as a working mum, stay-at-home mum, whatever mum?
Yeah.
But just it's a battle between when you really want your career, something you're passionate about and care about, but you've got these little people and just the management of that. But thank you for asking me that. But I really relate to everything that you're saying because I think I've operated in a very similar way. I haven't wanted to give up my identity and just become mum.
And I think the thing is also like me accidentally falling pregnant, not married, which was like taboo.
Yeah.
When I told my parents that I was pregnant, they ran out and cried. It was like, went down really well. But I think the thing is, so many people plan and they go, we're going to have this and we're going to have that. It doesn't matter.
No.
Kids could not care what you've got. And you will always get there in the end if you're determined and you have a vision and you've got good support around you, whether that's friends or family or, a community. And I think from me having kids so early, I'm just like, don't wait. It's the best thing you'll ever do. Best thing you'll ever do.
I love that.
You kind of began the conversation defining what you see as a tomorrow person, but who comes to mind as a tomorrow person to you? Like who's a tomorrow person in your life?
Wow. I think the tomorrow people in my life of what I do it for are my grandkids in the fact of like they're my tomorrow people of why I'm doing things. It used to be my kids were tomorrow people and now my grandchildren are my tomorrow people. I think the tomorrow people are the younger generation. I'm not going to single out anybody. I think the fact that we've just come out of an election and it was the highest percentage of younger generation against the older generation voting. And whether you agree with whatever happened with the election, it was a big swing in the fact of what we've seen overseas of what we don't want to have. We don't want to have marginalised people criticised and, put to the side. We don't want people's rights taken away from them. And we don't want people to be, shoved down just because they're different. And I think that was a big thing. So I'm going to put it into a generation as my tomorrow people because I feel like the new kids should be looking at hope of the power they have. And I feel that was a really strong voice that they had. And there's a lot of us of our generation urging them on saying, you go for it, you go for it. You are the tomorrow people. We are now, like me, I'm at a mentor stage now. So I'm not a tomorrow person. I'm just to tell you what the history did and wisdom of what's that and what your choices can be and where you go. So a tomorrow person is, I think, community because we've lost community.
Which makes so much sense with the way that you raised your babies of like you utilised full community, whether it was the mate with the childcare centre or the ex's parents. I was like, that's community. That's how a lot of cultures operate, which is,
And we've lost that, like community. And I think that's why, so many people do have those issues and problems because they don't feel like they can go knock on the door of their neighbour. Like people are living in big apartment buildings and the way laws are going at the moment, we're going to have a lot more apartment living and a lot of people don't know their neighbour. So we've got to have community within apartment blocks. We've got to have community at the bottom of when these apartments are being built. We need to have community at the base ground of, not just a concierge and a red light sauna and a ice bath. That's not community. We need to have cafes. We need to have rooms that people get together. See, that's where art and design comes into building communities and that makes change. That's where I see the future of design working to help these tomorrow people of communities because at the bottom of every one of these buildings that we're now apparently 20 stories high we can build, they're just going to turn into desolate towns of lonely people.
Definitely.
We are in an epidemic of loneliness amongst all the other epidemics. Getting more specific about your grandkids.
Yeah.
I know they're very young. What are you learning from them? Because I imagine it's wild being a parent and then becoming a grandparent. What are you learning?
Your face. I'm like, I don't think you could smile if you could all see this smile any more than you are smiling right now about these little people in your life. It is literally beaming off your face.
They make me so happy.
You can see that.
I look after them one day a week and it's just the best day. I forget what I've done all week except I looked after the kids. As a 4.5-year-old, Olive is such a creative soul. Her mum's an art teacher and it just shines through. She could draw for hours. But at the same time, I just let them design the day. Like I don't go in with any intentions, whatever. And she will just come up with game after game after game. And so we're playing games constantly that she's just made up in her head. So the creativity that she has that we are missing from a lot of kids at the moment, like we know, and this is me as the older generation with the devices, but we know scientifically that it's bad for them. Their attention span, yes, their fine motor skills are good for a certain extent, but the fact that they shut down, they can't communicate, and it's a really big problem. So to see her in that younger generation of creativity is just so amazing. And then my little grandson, Darcy, who's just turned 2, they're so different. And he's like this little dude. Like he's just got the action. Like Olive runs, goes like that. And Darcy's like this. He's just a little dude. But he is just obsessed with everything sports. Like, he'll go, he knows what football is. He knows what soccer is. He knows what golf is. So he's just got this, you talk to him and you say ball and his eyes are like saucers and he lights up. So we've got the creativity and the fun and we've got the energy and the passion and I see both of them alive and I don't think that we give younger little kids enough credit for their passion and what they're absorbing and I can see them both going down the rabbit holes that I do. They're thinking, and what about this and what about that? And they're inquisitive and they're curious and I just feel really excited for who they are as people and what they're going to bring the world because I see passion, I see excitement, I see creativity and I just hope that they never lose that.
You've mentioned, as we kind of come to the end, like you've mentioned so many incredible kind of skills and ways of being that I think can really help people to be a better version of themselves tomorrow. So you've spoken about, having belief in yourself, really tuning into your body. I think that's something that not everyone is very skilled at and can miss those messages. And you're talking about creativity and energy and all those things and creating community. There's so many beautiful, tangible things to consider. But what would you kind of offer to people that might be listening? Like, what is one small step you believe people can make towards just leaning more into a more authentic version of themselves or a version of themselves that they feel really proud of for tomorrow, or just one small step?
I think one of the things, we said the word belief before and I always joke, like my kids grew up with me with a Post-it note sitting on the steering wheel, believe, 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 believe. We all have something in ourselves we can believe in, whether it's I'm good at cooking or whether I'm good at listening to people or whether I'm a good conversationalist, whether I'm good at bringing people together or whether I'm good at drawing. We've all got something of a good in us and it might be just our kindness. So I think the thing is that believe that amazing thing that's in you and tell yourself it's amazing. We don't tell ourselves our skills are amazing and they are. So believe that one thing that you can think of right at this moment, what is one good thing in you that you know that will help other people or it's something that you can share to value others, that believe in that part of you that will be valued by somebody else, because I think that's the important thing is that if you've got something in you that you can share, you won't know straight away whether it will help that person. But if you feel good knowing, you know what, I don't know if that's going to help somebody, but I know this is a good skill. This is something that I know has helped me. And just by sharing it in whatever way, it's going to help somebody else. Like, my mum used to make slices and cakes and things like that. The worst cook in the whole world. But a baker, she was phenomenal. And so people would come to our house and their joy of being sugar-laden was just epic. And so she would make people slices and cakes and she'd bag them up and take them to people's houses. And she wasn't a very talented woman, but she was very talented at that. And every cake and slice she did, she put love into it. She never laboured. She never hated it. Never once did she whinge. But she just loved making this and watching people eat it. So she spread all this love and joy just by making caramel slices.
Yeah.
And I never used to acknowledge that for my mum. And I think it's really important. She's not here, but it's important for me to acknowledge that. And, you know, so we've all got something in us that other people will value. And if you've got something to give in some way, it comes back tenfold.
Yeah. What's the one thing you're believing in yourself right now?
My ability to hope. And I think the thing is, you know, hope was taken away from me in a few little moments in my life for certain things, but the hope in tomorrow is another day and we can always do better tomorrow. And I believe that this younger generation has got incredible people like you to mentor them on a very one-to-one level, is that they now have hope that they're going to be left with a better world, because I feel like 5 years ago I thought we were going to burn it all down. But the younger generation believes in hope and believes in the people around them have got hope. This will be a better world, without a doubt.
In the media, we hear a lot of things that are very like hopeless, and especially like this younger generation and all the questions being asked. So it's really nice. I think nice note to finish on the hope and that.
Yeah.
So thank you. That it's nice for us to hear that, I think.
Yeah. And you're here because you want healthy people to move forward and realise that life is amazing. And I don't think enough people say, life is great.
We really don't, do we?
We don't. Life is incredible.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing what you do to teach people that, you know what, life's pretty good.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what you were saying at the start about just everything you can feel from love and hate and being alive. And you've given us heaps to marinate on going into the day. But
And also just like thank you, because you shine the joy and passion and it comes off you in the energy that you give. So it's clear that you live what you speak.
Oh,
and I think
thank
that's,
you.
you know,
It's
that's
annoying to some people, but I love it.
No, I think it's a really beautiful thing. I think I agree with you. I think particularly in this current state, it's hard to believe that life is amazing because life is also really hard.
Yeah.
But I think you can choose at times how you want to engage in that. And you clearly choose joy. That is very much how it shows up.
I refuse anything else.
Yeah. Thank you for coming and sharing some joy with us today.
Thank you.
So lovely.
Tomorrow People Podcast, Urban Decay Site.